Hello everyone, my name is Ms. Ria Ali, author of Teaching Creative Writing for Primary Schools, Standards 4 and 5, Narrative Writing, Report Writing, and Standard 3 textbooks. And today I'm going to share some examination tips for our students who are embarking on the SCA examination on March 29, 2023. Our examination tips today is pertaining to narrative writing, where we are going to look at how to use the formulas that would have been discussed in a previous video. So on the board, I have a question here. Our topic is, you are home alone when you heard a sound at the back door. Write the story of this experience. Now, I would have mentioned to students when they see their question on the paper, you underline your question very quickly, pulling out the elements of the story, which would have been crisp. So when we look here, look and see, you would see C for character, home would be your setting, as well as backdoor setting. The problem or conflict would be that you are alone and then you heard a sound. So from the question, you will be able to elicit or pull out the elements of the story, at least some of them. Now, when we have the question, the second step after underlining and pulling out what we see as important would be to get an idea. We discuss fantasy reality stories. So you have to ask yourself who or what is making this sound at the back door. Now, some of you can come up with various ideas. It can be a kidnapper, a stranger, a homeless person, an injured animal, and in this case here we have a sukunya. So we are going to use the idea of the sukunya, and we are going to use the second formula as discussed, which pertains to the elements of the plot to plan the story. So very quickly in the exam room, you can use Irakafi and jot down a plan for your story before you start to write. So with our sukunya here, introduction, and home alone, you have to say why. Maybe your parents went out, maybe they went to work, but you're home alone. And then rising action. While you're home alone, I heard a sound. Describe the sound. This is where development comes in. You will put your feelings, what you felt when you heard the sound, and of course, being curious, you go to investigate, which pushes down now into the climax. You encounter the sukunya. You will describe your sukunya because you have to describe your character here. We have our formula for character development, PAPD, and then she will chase you. When this is taking place, ensure you build tension, build the feeling, build the fear of this encounter. Then you have to come up with a solution. So while you are being chased, it comes to your head that you remember that you can get rid of the sukunya by using salt. Perhaps it's a tale that your grandma said or your mom. So you would have to develop that idea of how now that came to your mind to use the salt to get rid of the sukunya. So this is where our falling action comes into place. And you go to the kitchen, you get the salt, you throw it on her, and she disappears. This is the end of the problem. The story doesn't end here. This is just the falling action. Then we move to the end of the story where you are thankful to be alive. Your parents perhaps may come home and you tell them of your ordeal, and it will be an experience you'll never forget. So what we have here again is a very quick example of how in the exam room, if you are faced with a narrative writing question, how you can plan your story and elicit the elements of the story as well as the elements of the plot using crisp and Irakafi. I do hope that you find these tips useful to you, and students, best of luck in your exams come March 29th.